Hello, hello, and welcome to the We Care Wellness Empowerment Group. I am Cheyenne Kramer. I'm one of the co-founders of We Care Partnerships Network, and we are so honored and blessed this evening to have with us Ms. Sabriya Charles. And if you haven't had a chance to meet Sabriya yet, you've got to take some time and listen to this gal because everywhere she goes, all I can say is she's like on fire. It doesn't matter whether she's talking to somebody one-on-one or she's in front of big groups. She does online virtual wellness retreats for companies. Oh my goodness, she just got it all going on. So tonight, y'all are going to be so awesome to be able to hear her talk about one of her favorite topics, which is about self-trust. So there is a wellness topic for you. I'm going to back out of the way and let you have the floor, Miss Sabriya.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne. And I'm going to work to share my screen with you all. Let's see here. We'll get things going. So, yep, perfect, perfect. So excited to share my screen with you all so I can talk to you all about what it means to trust yourself as the expert of your own life. And just to kind of give you a little background, I do have my master's in clinical mental health counseling. I'm now a registered mental health counselor intern for Fruits of Freedom Counseling of the state of Florida. And I am the founder of Project Passport, also, which is a corporate wellness organization where we focus on preventative wellness. And I also wrote a book, Purpose Doesn't Care What's in Your Bank Account. And Cheyenne and Dawn have been awesome supporters of that and my book and my work. And so I'm just honored to be here with you all to share a little bit. This won't be super long. This is just enough to kind of give y'all a taste of this topic. I do extensive presentations like this. I can do this for organizations. I do this across many avenues. I've also ran therapy groups on self-trust that I've designed by hand myself. So really happy to cover this topic as this is a very important one because I don't think we realize so much how important it is to trust ourselves to navigate life and how much happier we'd be if we could truly trust ourselves for the good, for better, and for worse. And so with that being said, let's move into it. I want to let y'all know that this is not a mental health therapy appointment. However, I will talk about mental health topics and maybe talk about conditions and things that can relate. I always recommend that you seek a professional in your local state or area to be able to really support you. If you're in the state of Florida, more than happy to help you. I have room to receive more clients, and so I'm always looking to support as many individuals as possible on this journey. And so, as you know, there's a crisis hotline. It's no longer 911 just, but you can also look at 988 as well for any crisis and lifeline conversations as needed. I want you to think about when you see the word trust, when you think of trust, what do you think about, right? So take a moment, just think about what comes up when you see the word, when you see trust, what happens there? Some of us think about trust of, other people, trusting our loved ones, trusting our spouse, trusting friends. Trust is a fickle thing, right? It's a fickle term, I would say. Trust is something that varies and fluctuates. Trust can be broken, but trust can also be rebuilt. Trust can decrease, but trust can also increase. Trust can be stable. Trust can grow deeper. Trust can be complicated. But I also ask, what is your relationship with trusting yourself? Do you trust others to make decisions for you more than you trust yourself to make those decisions? Do you trust that others know more about your needs than yourself? Those are things I want you to think about on your journey in this thing called trust. Because one of the most powerful versions of trust is self-trust. When we can trust ourselves, we can trust ourselves to navigate friendships, navigate others, and decide, can I trust this person? Because we can trust ourselves to trust that person. Or you can also trust yourself by saying, I can step back and trust others to manage their lives, and I can trust myself to manage my own. Because some of us, we get to that space of codependency and control where we want to be in everybody else's life because we're so afraid to deal with our own. And I think that's something that many of us deal with, but we're not willing to admit it. Many people are willing to fix the problems of others, but they're not willing to address their own. And so it's an important thing to think about. I'm not trying to call you out if that's you, but it's something I want you to reflect on when you think about trust. And so, as I always say, it's one of the most important things in the therapeutic process. I'm actually in my PhD program. I'm not in dissertation yet, but one of my things I want to be doing in this program is my dissertation will focus on most likely this concept of self-trust and looking at creating new theoretical perspectives of approaching self-trust in treatment, because I think it's a very underutilized concept that people don't realize plays a huge part in therapy. I think that even in coaching or in any wellness space, but therapy especially, many people who don't trust themselves are anxious, they're depressed. They may have personality disorders that develop. They may dissociate from things. They may have other mental health conditions. Oftentimes, people who have borderline and things like that, they can't trust themselves to navigate life, so they're highly codependent. It could be that way with bipolar as well. And so other disorders can relate to your lack of ability to trust yourself to manage, your lack of ability to say, I can trust myself to make a decision. And even if the decision is not perfect, can I make peace with that? Many people aren't in the place to do that. So they let others make the decisions for them. And so individuals who question their ability, and by the way, if you're asking questions, if you're chatting, I'll try to make sure I look at the end because I won't be able to see it on my end. I'm not a fancy two-screener person just yet, but I will make sure I look at the end if there is anything that comes up that I can answer or support. So please do drop your questions in the chat. Please do put them there, your comments, and I'll go back and reflect on those. And this will be a cohesive presentation for those who want to re-listen. They can focus on just the content. So oftentimes I want to ask you, do you feel that you are able to handle life successfully? And I'm not saying, can you handle life successfully as in nothing go wrong, but can you handle life successfully when things go wrong too? That's really one of the big baseline kind of, I want to say like the totems of self-trust, right? Can I deal with life even when it isn't pretty? And so here are the pieces that come with self-trust. One is dealing with their inner critic. So according to Psychology Today, these are some things that you can do. And it's a way of life, right? So you got to be able to deal with that voice. Everybody has that voice. I like to call mine anti-Sabriya. She loves to talk a bunch of mess. She loves to tell me how much I can't do or where I went wrong or where I failed before. But anti-Sabriya, I have to constantly, in create a little bit wild terms, kill her off. Like just like in the movies, like the anti-hero, the Marvel movies. That's kind of the fight I have to have. And I'm sure you all might have that fight in your own capacity. Also looking at that addressing and avoiding regretful thinking. Oftentimes, one of the biggest reasons we fail to trust ourselves is because we live in a state of regret, perpetual shame, perpetual regret. Shame and regret are not welcome here. They're not. Shame and regret are pieces that allow us to stay stuck and allow us to feel that, wow, well, you couldn't get it right the first time, so I guess you can't get it right next time. That's not how we want to function. And so I want to encourage you to think about that in your journey, this idea of shame and regret, and if that's driving you in your choices. And being able to move forward from the past. Some of us are still living in a dream or a hope of something. We're living in this fantasy of what we wanted our lives to be, what we thought our lives were going to be, or we thought how someone was going to act, but it didn't happen that way. We have to grieve our fantasy, our visions of what we thought things would be, and make peace with where we are moving. And know that you can still change your picture if you trust yourself and trust your capabilities. Also, it's important to know your strengths and values so you can make those changes, so you can move towards your goals. Maybe things didn't go as planned, but you have to be aware of what strengths and values you bring to the table so that you can be able to trust yourself with these strengths and values to be able to move forward. That's important in the process. So these are all things that can help us, really kind of put a shape on what it means to trust ourselves. And so, do you know what's best for you? Do you trust yourself? Some of y'all might say, I don't know, just like a little girl here. I don't know. Do I trust myself? Can I manage life? What even do you even know what makes you happy or brings you joy? Do you know what makes you sad? Do you know what makes you angry? Do you know what your boundaries are? What do you want? Just like the scene out of the Notebook. What do you want? And isn't that simple? Remember, she's like, isn't that simple? I think it's Rachel, or I can't remember her name. I haven't seen it in forever, but just thinking about it, like, do you even know what you want? Many times we're upset and we're frustrated on a life that we don't even know what we're asking for right now. So do you trust yourself to know what you want? What do you need versus what you want? So trusting yourself to know your needs. I have some times where I'm working with clients and they're like, wow, I'm not in the space to do this right now. You know what's best for you. I don't. I don't know your life. So letting me know that you're not in the space to talk about this or cover something is important to communicate your boundary. So it's important for you to know that for yourself. If you need a moment, you need a moment. So that's what it means, being able to know what you need. And so oftentimes the lack of self-trust, it causes us to do a lot of things. So these are just a couple of the monsters that come with our inability to trust ourselves. We get into this analysis paralysis place where we can't stop analyzing things. We're constantly stuck. I can't do anything because what if I do this in A and B and Z and Y and X and all those equations are coming up because you're afraid to move. Sometimes we project on others. Our anger can come out, or we can get frustrated or anxious, and we can pass that anxiety or confusion or chaos to others. It's infectious, those negative things that can happen. We can get angry, we can get irritable, we can get frustrated because we're like, I'm just mad because like I have to deal with this and I don't trust myself to deal with this, right? Fear and anxiety that like is beyond just the standard fear and anxiety, but it's even more excess. Depression because now we're like, I just can't trust anything. I'm failing myself. Sabotage. We'll self sabotage. We'll do things to make our relationship with self trust even worse. And we'll sabotage ourselves because we don't trust ourselves. Not being able to sleep. Now you're staying up all night and you're ruminating. Can't let it go. Keep going. Sometimes we do that. Second guessing. And then also that lack of self responsibility. We don't want to take responsibility anymore. We start just letting other people make choices for us because we don't want to take responsibility. And so sometimes, I'm sure throughout today, maybe through this presentation, sometimes it feels like the walls are closing in. And sometimes these feelings, like even on this last slide, thinking about all these feelings, they can make you feel overwhelmed just looking at it because maybe it's waking up something inside of you. So check out the 988 or the Lifeline. If you're really starting to have those moments where you feel like you are going to hurt yourself or you are breaking down and you are done, get that support. At the very least, you might not trust yourself right now, but trust somebody to support you through that. So what do you here's the thing, like how do we even get to a point of self-trust? Well, what do you need? What do you actually desire? So many times people are like, well, I don't. You're right. I don't know what I want. I don't know how am I going to trust myself. I don't know what I'm looking for. Tap into your emotions. Your emotions are indicators of your needs. If you're feeling a sense of isolation and sadness, then it might mean that you need to find people that are healthy in your life to support you. You might want to start meeting people, create a support system, right? So if you're feeling that loneliness and sadness, you have to trust yourself to navigate meeting some people or getting yourself out there to find that support. Maybe you have an emotion of feeling this anxiety, like this on edge. Maybe that means you need a break. So you have to trust yourself to know that you need a break and do the work to trust yourself to navigate what it takes to get access to a break. Also, physical sensations. Sometimes we start to have bodily reactions. Like I know for me, when I'm not there anymore, I start getting sick. My body starts telling me, I start feeling sick to my stomach. There are times that I feel it in my body, my head starts to have headaches. I know that I'm getting to a point where there's something I need and desire that I need to address. Do some self-reflection work, journal, figure out where you need, what do you want, meditate, be mindful. Those things will help you spend time with what you actually need or desire. And finally, what's the end point? What's the goal? What are your goals here? What are your purpose moments? What are you trying to get at? These are things that'll kind of help you understand what you're going for so you can figure out what you need self-trust to, like what self-trust is needed to get there. I think sometimes we don't understand that self-trust is understanding what we need, trusting yourself to know what you need, trusting yourself to know what you desire. And so, a couple things that can help you with improving your self trust is identifying your gnats. I say like little bugs, gnats. What are your negative automatic thoughts? What are the things that are taking up space in your mind and that are causing you to immediately go to that negative place? So you have maybe something that happened where someone called you dumb, and now you always think, "Oh, I'm just too dumb to figure this out." It's a horrible thing, but it can leave us so stuck. I was one of those people that I got so caught in that place of I don't have attention to detail, so I would get stuck there. How do you convert them to more, how do you convert those negative thoughts to positive ones? Well, maybe I'm not a big attention to detail person, but I am a big picture person, or I'm going to slow down so I can get more attention to those details, right? So finding what are those negative thoughts that are keeping you from even trusting, even trying to trust yourself. And then also giving yourself grace. Oh my gosh, people making mistakes. I'm pretty sure that score on everybody's roster of a mistake or a thing that they did that didn't turn out how they hoped is very high. Nobody in here is shooting zero on mistakes. Okay. Everybody got some baskets of the mistake basket on the court. Okay. And I think that we forget that. And so then we think that we can't make a mistake. We can't make a wrong choice. Some choices are intentionally wrong, right? We don't want to do things like hurt others or do something that can put us in danger, right? Like choosing to drink and drive. That's a choice that it's not a mistake. It's an active choice that you know you're doing, and it's something that can lead to the loss of others. So we want to be thoughtful of that, right? So I want to be thoughtful that we're not saying, let's just everything's a mistake. Most things where we don't have a bad intention and we're going in it with the best intent possible, that's knowledgeable, that is where we are making it can happen where mistakes still happens, where it didn't come as planned, or your accuracy is not there, right? But we want to be careful about not doing intentional things, because if we're doing intentional things that are self-destructive or destructive to others, that's very different, right? So be okay with doing the best you can with what you have. That's the biggest thing that you can do. Other strategies. I mentioned knowing your strengths. If you don't know your strengths, talk to people in your support system and ask them, hey, what am I good at? What do you know I'm good at? So maybe you can be a little more intentional. Someone once told me I was a good listener. So now I'm a lot more thoughtful about being a listener, because I feel like, yeah, I'm a good listener. So I try to work that strength even more because I know people notice it, or at least that person did. Know your values. What's your North Star? So when things get scary, where do you go? Where is the North Star to guide you to move forward? Determining what you need or what you actually desire. So we talked about that earlier in the slides. What do you actually even want or need? That's a very important part of building your self-trust journey. And so we won't go over that activity here, but what I want to remind you all is that life is an experiment. It literally is. I tell clients all the time across all my work, my coaching, my therapy, my wellness retreats, life is an experiment in the fact that we as people have to stop feeling like we're tiptoeing through life. Some things we don't know. And if we did, if we had the manual, we do it right. But that's part of what comes with it. There are times where the season is slow, life is slower, life speeds up. Bad things happen, good things happen. We're all trying to figure out how to have the best concoction of life for ourselves. But it starts with you doing the work. It starts with you trusting yourself to do whatever that is. Try for that job, apply for that opportunity, raise your hand in that meeting. It's being able to tell your spouse how you really feel, telling that person what you really need, asking that person to stop doing whatever that is. It's really taking the chance. As a kid, you were willing to experiment on stuff. You said, "Oh, put a if I put a air balloon in a couch cushion and I sit on it, will it break?" You know, right? You do silly things as kids, right? We try things out, and sometimes it ends up as a mess, and sometimes we're like, "Oh, that worked out." But many times it didn't work, right? But we lose that as adults because then we're afraid of making mistakes. But one of the most important things we have to remember is that we all have that experimental part of us. We're human. How do you think we got fire, or we learned how to drink, that we could drink milk from an animal? I mean, some of y'all might not drink milk from animals, but how do we learn that we could do those things without turning into the animal, right? So like you wouldn't know until you go through it. So finally, the most important thing is that you just have to do it. You got to go for it. Whenever you identify that help you want or desire, you got to move towards it. Even if it's the smallest step, it's a phone call, it's an email, you have to move towards that. And so as we wrap up today, thank y'all so much for listening. It's important to tap into resources. Having a therapist can be a great option to help you figure out what is it that you even want, because maybe you're not even there yet. It can be helpful to just help you navigate what are your strengths, what are your values. There's activities and things that therapists can provide you to help you do that. There's also other hotlines and programs and support groups that you can join to help you in the journey. Just know that you don't have to navigate this thing called life alone. I have my contact information on this page. Feel free to connect with me anytime, and I'm always here and always happy to help. Mental health is my game, and that's the work that I do. I love what I do. I love what I stand for, and I believe that we can truly live a life of joy and happiness if we are willing to allow ourselves to live that life. I believe that everything starts with an element of self trust. We have to trust ourselves to be able to navigate this thing called life. And with that being said, I want to thank you all for joining me today. And I'm going to turn it back to Cheyenne to see if
Awesome, Sabriya. And there's been a number of people popping in and out listening to you. So we're thankful for everybody who came. I don't know if anybody's got any questions. I'm actually monitoring my phone right now on Facebook. So if anybody's got any questions there that they want to pop in here that we can put up to Sabriya, I'm more than happy to do that. Otherwise, hopefully you guys caught some contact. And I believe you are in the group, right, Sabriya? So if people wanted to reach out to you right through the Facebook group, they can do that as well.
Yeah, they should be able to. And I hope it was good. It was a nice little dose of stuff, and I hope it was just enough, not too much information. And I see some comments about people saying they experienced all those feelings before, and how it's kind of like parenting. There's no manual. You're doggone right. There is no manual to this thing. And so, I mean, like there really isn't, and we're just trying to navigate that. So yeah, feel free to contact me in the group, and if you watch the replay, you can see my contact information on the slides, and more than
There you
happy to
go.
help however I can.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we thank you so much. We're so blessed and honored to have you. Every time we can capture you for a few minutes and bring you into the We Care group. So you have an awesome, awesome night, and everybody have a wonderful day. Remember, you can trust yourself. It's okay to experiment. I love that. Those were great slides, Sabriya.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne.
All right, have a great one, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.